Hey guys, welcome to CraterMania. I am your host, the man they call Crater, and I want to welcome you all to How I Got Into Wrestling. This is a show where we learn about how wrestling fans from all over the world give their perspective of how they got into wrestling. And on today's show, we have a very special guest. And just like my last guest I had on the show, Bad News Cruz, I've only known my guest today for just a few weeks after he began following the channel. And as you know, I'm here to talk with any and all wrestling fans, especially ones like my guest today, who, like me, collects wrestling stuff. So allow me to now introduce my guest, now entering the CraterMania arena, Don Packard, the hardcore wrestling collector. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Pretty good. Glad to have you on the show, brother. Finally, and I know we've been talking about this for past couple weeks. I've been super excited for this show, man. Been checking out the photos you got on your Instagram page and stuff. Over, it's the Hardcore Wrestling Collector on Instagram. This guy, Don, he has guys. You got to go check out his page on Instagram. He has some really cool stuff. I mean, there's no doubt that name, Hardcore Wrestling Collector, is not just any kind of name. This dude is a hardcore wrestling collector, and I'm glad to have you here, man.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here too, man.
Um,
Appreciate it.
so I know you're telling me this. So this is your first time you've ever been on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes.
Hell yeah, man! And I know you were telling me that you had created a channel, but you not really put anything on there yet. I really think that's something you should strive for, man, because you would do, I think, fantastic on YouTube, brother. Um, but let me go ahead and just
Thanks, man. Thanks.
jump right into this with you, man. So, the first question, as I ask everyone, how did you get into wrestling?
Um, well, my family. I've been watching wrestling since I was like 3, 4. They watched it probably before me, so we would just sit down as a family and watch it all together.
Do you remember how old you were when you first got into it, or what year it
Um,
was?
um, I was born in '85, so
Okay.
probably '88, like 3, 4, probably.
Do you remember like some of the who was the first wrestler that you really got into and you became a big fan of?
You probably heard this a lot. Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, a lot of my guests so far on the show have given it that, and that's perfectly understandable. I mean, especially the time frame. You said around '88 when you got into it. I mean, Hogan was the man. I mean,
Yeah, he
he's
definitely
he,
was.
he's the guy that changed the whole platform for professional wrestling, in my opinion. So I definitely understand, like you, like many others, that's the guy. He was one of those top guys for me. I mean, Sting was the guy that got me into it, but like Hogan was definitely there as well. Um,
Yeah.
but I think I got in a little bit, like I got it in 1990, so a little bit after that you got into it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so you said that like you just kind of you'd sit down as a family and stuff and watch wrestling. So like how do you remember like how that began, or do you have has your family members ever told you like how that kind of like, that came to be? Is it just something that was just on and you guys would just it looked interesting, and how do you know that? Um, how did that come to be? Do you think?
I think they was wrestling fans because they would put it on. So and just we would watch it as a family like all the time. Saturday night, live. Then when they went to MTV, like Sunday Night Heat, and then Monday Night Raw, then SmackDown, and all that. And then WCW. I didn't really get into WCW until um, probably like when NWO came
Oh,
around,
okay.
when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came and Hogan went over there and stuff. So I was a WWF guy.
So like you said you didn't start watching WCW until like the NWO stuff, and that's
Yeah.
that's perfectly understandable too. Like, so as I've said before, like I was started watching wrestling in 1990, and it was mostly, I would go back and forth between WCW and WWF during that time because just because I was a big Sting fan, that was he was a mainstay there in WCW, from
Yeah.
just the get go, and but I didn't really have a preference, but at that time either, other than I like seeing Sting on WCW, but like I would switch back and forth from WCW and WWF all the time. But when it got to that time when the NWO came around, like I was pretty much like biased towards WCW once because that's really like I really liked WCW more so than WWF at that time. But I think that kind of changed like once Stone Cold became champion and stuff. So
Oh
like,
yeah.
what about WWF? Like, you were just a WWF guy before, the whole NWO stuff. So, what about the WWF really appealed to you more than WCW during that time?
I mean, they had Hogan, they had Macho Man, the whole how Vince did it, just like everything, just it was everywhere. It was big, so everywhere you went or everywhere you turned around, like it was Hulk Hogan or Macho Man or like Ultimate Warrior, So it was just big. It was everywhere. You couldn't get away from it.
And was a Warrior another one of your like top guys when you were first getting into it, or who were some of the
Um,
other guys that you were really fan of besides Hogan?
I I like Macho Man. I liked Demolition. I liked Papa Shango.
Of course.
Yeah, I like that mystical, dark characters that they had. Undertaker, um, Kane, Rowdy Piper. Um, who else? Um, I like the Rockers
Oh yeah.
back then. Yeah. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Of course, yeah, and
Yeah,
I I
yeah.
I I'm glad you say Demolition, man, like, you're like the 3rd or 4th person that I've had on the show that when I've had them name people they were getting into when they first got into wrestling that has said Demolition, and that's so awesome to hear because, when you hear you talk to a lot I've talked to a lot of people that love wrestling, outside the show and stuff, and, um hardly Demolition hardly ever gets mentioned, and I think that's sad because, like, they're such a legendary team, and it's awesome to see that they're finally going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. They about time they get their flowers. You
Yeah,
know,
real.
I think honestly, if Vince was still around, they want to go. But
No, absolutely not.
yeah, because the whole lawsuit thing
Yeah,
between them and stuff. But I'm glad that they finally gained their flowers and gained the knowledge. From wrestling fans that don't even know who they are. You know, like
right,
this
man.
generation of wrestling fans, they're probably like, who are these people? But people like me and you and old school wrestling fans that grew up watching WWF, we've been waiting for this forever.
Yeah, man, we have. Like, I was just talking to one of my friends the other day. Like, I said, I can remember 10 years ago, like, I was watching the Hall of Fame and I was like, man, it sucks. Demolition is never going to get put in the Hall of Fame because of Vince. But now
Yeah.
that's all, that's all changed. Now we could have never, man, if you told me 10 years ago, like everything was going to happen the way it was with Vince being out of the company, I was like, no, you're a liar. I mean, no way. But it's insane to see how much not just wrestling, in general, but just the WWE, has changed in the past 10 years. Um, I mean, is it now that like, and I bring this up because we were talking about Demolition going to the Hall of Fame. Is there anybody that was, also kind of blackballed or you never thought would go in the Hall of Fame that might go in now? Or is there somebody you think that should go in?
I'm trying to think, man. I don't. Let me think. Let me think. I think China should go in by herself.
I agree. Yes,
I
absolutely.
think she should go. I think. Um, who else?
I think Owen
I
definitely should, but
Oh, Owen, yeah, definitely Owen. He
I don't think
definitely
they ever
deserves
will though
to be in
because
there. his
Yeah, I
wife.
don't his wife won't let it happen, unfortunately, but I think he should. It sucks, that whole situation.
Yeah.
But it is what it
Yeah,
is, I
I'm
guess.
a big Bret Hart fan, and it sucks knowing that, Owen Hart will never ever be in the Hall of Fame ever, you know?
Bulldogs, or did Bulldog he got inducted a couple years ago, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think he has.
I was thinking that
He
that
might
he
have,
did.
maybe.
I know that Brian Pillman still hasn't got
No,
inducted.
Brian Pillman still hasn't. I was gonna say Jim Anvil Neidhart, but he went in with Bret Hart as the Hart
Yeah,
Foundation, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. Because I mean, and I like Jim Anvil Neidhart, but as a singles wrestler, I wasn't really a fan. I mean, he was
yeah.
always just a great tag team, not just with Brett, but like when he was doing the new foundation stuff with Owen,
Owen,
uh,
yeah,
and then later, like in the late '90s, they when Jim the Anvil and British Bulldog went to WCW, they kind of had a tag team there together for a little bit in WCW. I thought that was pretty good. But like other than that, I mean, um, Jim as a singles wrestler, I wasn't big on him.
yeah.
But he's a legend, regardless.
Oh
So I'm
yeah,
not
he's
not
definitely a legend.
not discrediting him in any way. But
Yeah, that whole Hart family is legends. All
yeah,
everybody.
absolutely. I was just watching the Canadian Stampede from 1997 here recently, and just I've forgotten like w- how awesome that whole pay per view is, and it's only like just four matches. Do you remember that pay per view, the Canadian Stampede, where it's like the main event is the Hart Foundation versus Stone Cold, Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and the Road Warriors?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, that man, I was thinking, wow, this is like a really underrated pay per view. Like, but just I love that whole era of the when they had the new Heart Foundation that had Pillman in there with them, and I just thought that was all that stuff could have went even further than what it did if Brett had remained with WWF. But
yeah.
we all know how that turned out. So like I said, so you mentioned some of your, favorite wrestlers and you're getting into. Were there any matches or any kind of moments that kind of stood out to you during that time as well when you first got into wrestling?
Well, obviously the WrestleMania 10, I mean WrestleMania 6 with Warrior and Hogan when
Oh
Warrior
yeah,
beat Hogan, and then that's the first pay per view I ever saw. Was that one
really?
Hogan and Warrior? Yeah,
That's a good one
yeah,
too.
because pay per views, was like so expensive, like 50, $60. You had to order it, like call the um, cable company and order it, or you had to order it like on your DVR TV thing. It's not like, nowadays you could just, you know, ESPN stream it, you had to actually call your cable company just to order it.
Oh yeah, man, and because I knew all about it, but I just like my parents would never let me get the pay per views, like for the longest time. And I remember the first pay per view I ever watched live was Starcade '97. It was over at my brother's girlfriend's house because they bought it over there, so we traveled we went over to her house and watched, and that was like my first ever pay per view that I watched live. But like even after that, like I never got them at my house just because my parents would never wanted to buy them. They thought it was too much. So I was either just always going over to a friend's house or something and just, watching the pay-per-views. But yeah, man, even back then they've always been so expensive. And
Hmm.
uh like I think some of them now, like I think, which of course WWE doesn't really do pay-per-views anymore. They're called premium live events. They're on the streaming services and stuff. But I think AEW, they still do pay-per-views, right? Like you can still
Yeah,
pay.
yeah. You have to. I think you have to order them, like on your like DVR, like or call a certain number or something like that.
I think you can
They don't do
also like
streaming.
I think they have it, you can get it, like, through HBO Max as well.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, but like, cause I was this last one they did, which was Revolution. I watched it, afterwards, but like when it was happening, I went on to like HBO Max. I was like, I wonder if they're like if they actually stream these on here now, and they do, but like you had to pay is an additional $39.99 for it just to watch it through the HBO Max app that you're already paying for. So, but
Oh,
uh,
okay.
but yeah, like they they've always been so expensive, and that's why like as when I was a kid, like my parents just never wanted to get them. But like that's so cool that you actually so you got to watch WrestleMania 6 live, right?
Yeah, on pay-per-view. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, on TV.
So so who was you for, like in that match, Hogan or Warrior?
Hogan. I was for Hogan. Yeah, but
What?
I honestly I wasn't mad when Hogan lost. You know, um, it just I was like shocked. I was shocked that Hogan lost because he never because back then like he never lost.
Right,
You
right.
know, and a big he conquer anybody, and he lost, and I was like wow that's crazy.
I know that it's like it's so insane. I've talked about that, that match with some other people on here because that's one of the matches that really stand out, during their time when they got into wrestling as well. And to me, like, so I didn't get to see that match live. So I got to see it, I think in the year after it happened because, like I said, we didn't get pay per views. I would always really on time. I would get to watch the pay per views is if I would have to wait till the event would come out on home video and I could rent it at our video store, our local video store. And I remember renting WrestleMania 6, and this is so like I said that came WrestleMania 6 came out in 1990, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
So like I said, it was like the next year when I watched it, and that was my, I knew who Hogan was, already, but like that was pretty much kind of my introduction to the Ultimate Warrior was with that event, and I immediately became a fan, and just because, like I said, I was already a fan of Sting, and I just, I seen this other guy who kind of had like, this huge build. He was wearing makeup similar to Sting's, and I was like, I like this guy too. And then it's just I had no idea that him and Sting were tag team partners like years before that. At that point, I'd find out years later or whatever. But I was like, that's so funny, like But that's an event that really sticks out to me as well, and so many other people, and just you're right, it was shocking, to I think a lot of people that Warrior won that match. Um, do you remember like as a kid your reaction to Warrior winning over Hogan?
like I said, I was shocked. I was more shocked than mad and sad. I was just shocked. I was like, wow,
And
how can he lead? How can he lose? He never loses
I know that,
unless
yeah,
um, people get involved. And that's the only way he lost was when he would wrestle the heels, the bad guys, and they had help.
yeah, and every WrestleMania match he'd had before that was against a heel.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people say that his biggest WrestleMania match, which I can understand why they feel this way, but and just because it was a huge moment and everything, but they say that people always talk about him and Andre at WrestleMania 3, but I feel like the Hogan and Warrior match was a lot bigger. It had more spectacle to it, just because these were both huge stars for the company at the time. They were both faces, and it was so but you expected Hogan to still win it regardless, I
Yep.
think. So, but
I
but
did. I definitely thought he would win.
yeah, it was super cool though, because Warrior came out of that, looking great, with his title run, and he was doing like the different colored straps and everything. So I thought that really kind of added some flavor to the whole championship, picture. Did you have any like favorite color straps that Warrior had on the belt at that time?
I like the light purple one,
Yeah,
the
I like it.
violet one, that one, the one that he beat that Sergeant Slaughter beat Warrior for.
Oh
I
yeah,
like
and
I like that one.
That was always my favorite, like one because I think he did like a white one as well, and then did
A
he?
yellow one, I think. I think or that might have been the IC title. I
Yeah,
think
that was
he
the
did yellow.
Intercontinental. Did the yellow, but I think he did a blue one, like a baby blue, like light blue one as well. But that purple one you're talking about, that was always my favorite one as well because
Yeah, my
I
favorite too.
I've always wanted like a replica belt of that with that color strap. That would be sick. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely would be.
so, and this next question I want to ask you, and I ask this to a lot of other people as well, and I definitely know the obvious answer here when I ask you, do you collect anything related
Oh
to
yeah.
wrestling? And of
I
course you do.
collect a lot. Yeah, I collect a
Um,
lot.
so instead, I'll ask you, do you have anything cool that you maybe want to show off here on the show today?
Yeah, I'll show off my. I got this autographed by Booker T when I met him.
Oh, that's
The WCW.
I love that figure.
Yeah, I have Scott Steiner Big Papa Pump one, but I don't know where it's at. I misplaced it. And then I got the Rey Mysterio,
Oh,
the Phantom
dude,
Mask when he faced Eddie. Have Halloween Habit '96.
that's my favorite match of all time, man. Right there.
Yeah, mine too. Got another Ray mask.
Dude, speaking of Ray, like there's so this weekend in Indianapolis was the Squared Circle Expo Wrestling Convention. There was a guy seen on like this Facebook group I'm in where he attended, and he looks just like Ray. Like he wears the Ray mask, but he has like the contacts and everything. And I think I found him on Instagram. I'm following him on Instagram now. But like, dude, like he could pass for Rey Mysterio 100%. Is if he wasn't like he's a little bit taller than Ray, but if he was like the same size as Ray, he would pass no problem. It's crazy, dude.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I seen that the other day on Instagram when they did the big event where all the wrestlers go to the
mhm.
con and stuff, wrestling con. Yeah.
Yeah, they had one. I think like a week or so ago too, called the like you just
Yep.
said, the big event in New York. I think
Yep.
it is.
New York. Yep.
I've always wanted to go that. I've only been to a few wrestling conventions. They have a few here in Kentucky sometimes, and I've been to the one which was during WrestleMania 30 weekend called WrestleCon, and that was like one of the greatest weekends of my life. Like because I got to meet almost everybody I ever wanted. You know, Sting, Bret Hart. I got to meet the Steiners at that, and Goldberg, and just a ton of people. Man, it is crazy. You ever been to any wrestling conventions like that?
I haven't been to no wrestling conventions, but I've been to conventions where wrestlers been there, and I've
Right.
been to like indie shows where big name wrestlers have been there. So, um, like I've met Booker T. Booker T was the first person I met
Mhm.
at a comic convention, and then I met Danhausen. I've wrestling indie. I met Kurt Angle at a wrestling indie show. I met Sergeant Slaughter at the Comic Con. I've met uh, Mick Foley when he did his comedy show. He
Mm.
came in town, and I went to that with my friend Merrick. We go to a whole bunch of wrestling events together, and he's like my wrestling homeboy. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I go to other, if there's wrestlers, and it don't have to be a wrestling related convention or anything, but like if it's just some kind of event, because I've been to like car shows. Like they used to have this car show in Louisville, Kentucky. Years, I don't think they do it anymore, but I think it's called the Carl Casper Auto Show, and they always had either ties with WWE or TNA, and they would always bring these wrestlers in, and they would do free signings, which is unheard of nowadays. But they used to do
Oh yeah.
free signings. Like there was one year that Big Show was there, one Sheamus, Daniel Bryan. TNA did one. I think it was in 2010, maybe, because AJ Styles was the champion at the time in TNA, and so he was there, and Madison Rain, and someone else, I can't remember, but like they all like were free. Like every year they would do that. They bring these wrestlers in, and they were free. You could get whatever you wanted signed. There wasn't any kind of limit on like items. It was killer, man. And but you won't find that stuff nowadays. There's no way you'll
No.
find free signings anywhere. Um, but yeah, like you mentioned Booker T. I met him at a Comic-Con one year. One of the nicest wrestlers I've ever met too. Um, and when did you say that you got to meet him?
Um, about like 5 years ago, six, something like that.
Yeah, that's about the same for me as well. Yeah, he's just a super cool guy. Who's the coolest like wrestler you think you've ever met?
They've everybody I've met has been nice and cool, so I've never had a bad experience. So I mean, it's hard to choose. I'm
Right.
meeting RVD in Victoria in June. They're going to the Comic Con,
Okay.
so yeah. But the coolest, I think Sergeant Slaughter
I've never
was
got
the
to meet.
coolest because I took he does that challenge where he puts you in, the Cobra
Oh, the
Clutch,
cover
and then
clutch.
if you know, he gives you like a little coin and stuff,
Oh, really?
saying that you're part of the Cobra Clutch club or whatever. Yeah, actually, I have a picture of him putting me into it. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'll get it. I don't know if you could see that, but
Oh, yeah, man. I think you have that on your Instagram as well, right?
yeah, I do.
Yeah, man.
But
That's
yeah,
that's so cool. And he gives you a coin, like
yeah, he gives you a coin, and then that says that you're part of the Cobra Clutch Sergeant Slaughter Cobra Clutch club, or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
damn. I'm gonna have to meet
I
him.
couldn't find the coin. I have it somewhere.
That's cool, man. I didn't know. I mean, I've seen him at like shows and stuff, and I've never went like approached his table or anything. But like, if I knew that he was giving stuff out like that, I would have met him sooner. But I'm gonna have to meet him one of these days for sure.
Yeah.
I see him at events all the time, and like, um, funny enough, like he was at an event once we went to. It was like a Comic-Con thing as well, and my son and my nephew was with us, and they were dressed up in like I think my son was dressed as Superman, and my nephew was dressed as like Sonic the Hedgehog, and we were just walking by, and I remember him commenting on my son's Superman costume, and my son was like, "Yeah, whatever," or something, and I was like, and we just, and I was like, "Son, do you know who you just like said that to?" He's like, "No," I was like, "That's Sergeant Slaughter. He's a wrestler." He's like, "Oh my gosh!" And then my son was like scared to death. He thought that like Sergeant Slaughter was going to come and like beat him up or something.
Oh wow.
But yeah,
That's
I mean, like
funny.
I've never went up and like actually talked to him or got an autograph or anything, but I've been meaning to. I don't know why. Like, it's just where these conventions nowadays are just like the prices and stuff are getting starting to get really expensive. You have to pick and choose who you really want to meet the most. Like
Hmm.
when I was going to them like years ago, like 15, 16 years ago, I could meet everybody there, and still have plenty of money left to do whatever else. But now it's like it's crazy. And uh, if you look at like WWE stuff, they do like the WWE World and all that. Um, I know like the photo ops are like just the photo ops alone, not just autographs, but like photo ops are what like $100 or more now for some of those.
Oh yeah, I saw a thing where like Stone Cold or Undertaker, I think it was Stone Cold was like 300-400 for a
That's what,
photo
yeah,
op, autograph, and picture. I was like, damn, that's a lot.
that is, and I know that Undertaker's, like, autograph price is $300 just for an autograph nowadays, um,
Yeah.
which I don't know, man, like, it is Undertaker. If I had the money to spare, I would probably pay that, to be honest with you, Because I mean, it's fucking Undertaker. I mean, who are we kidding
True,
here?
true. Yeah.
Um,
But then again, like Bret Hart and all them, they're like, 60. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like it's all over the place too, man. Like this, there's a convention I'm going to coming up here real soon. It's close to me. It's called Hollers and Heroes Con. It's just they started last year. Last year was their first year, and they have a lot of wrestlers that they book on that show. Other than just like they have like movie guests and stuff too. But like this year, they're going to have Matt Riddle and several ECW guys like Sandman, Shane Douglas. I know Gangrel is going to be there. And just I don't understand it sometimes, man. Like the pricing is kind of like all over the place. Like Gangrel is going to be like $20. Because they've
Oh,
already like
wow.
announced pricing for, and I'm like, that's great. I'll pay that all day, like because to me he's worth more than $20. But I'm glad that he's kind of humbled himself in that way. But yeah, but then you got someone that might be as like as equal, as good of a wrestler or popular as he was at back in that day. That's sitting next to him. That's going to charge you like 60-70 bucks or something. So I guess it's just a kind of all a matter of like I guess who their
The
agent is
wrestler.
or whatever like it is, but
Yeah, I think it all depends on the wrestler, honestly.
yeah, I guess so. Just sometimes I just I understand like if we were looking at like Gangrel next to um, Stone Cold, I can understand why Stone Cold will be charging a lot more. But if you look at guys like I mean, and not discrediting him in any way, but like the Sandman, because I think Sandman's a legend. But like, do you feel like he was on that same kind of level as Gangrel was in the WWE? Or do you feel like Sandman is a bigger star and he deserves to get that, higher pricing?
I think Sandman was a bigger star in ECW. You know, WWE, he, wasn't really a big star because of Vince.
Mhm. Right, right.
But I think if Vince would have let him, he would be a big star. Yeah.
That,
But in my eyes,
fair.
he's a big star.
Oh yeah, like
But
same. That's what I'm saying. Like because I'm a bigger fan of Sandman, as opposed to someone like Gangrel, because I'm a huge ECW guy for sure. I
oh
love
yeah,
ECW stuff.
same, same. Yeah,
Um,
same.
but I guess what I was saying was like where because Gangrel kind of was exposed to a bigger audience during that same time over in the WWF. Um, but it's hard to compare, I guess, because they weren't in there at the same time. So it's really hard to tell like who would have been the bigger star if they were within the same company. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think.
Um,
Wasn't he a big star in WCW? I know he went to WCW.
he went there briefly, and he was going by Hack in WCW, but it didn't last too long. I mean, it was cool when he first came in, and it was like, oh shit, Sandman's in WCW, but they didn't really do anything with him. They had him in
Oh yeah.
their little WCW's hardcore division there for a little bit, but then I guess like it wasn't working for him because he was back in ECW not too long after that. Um, Same thing. They did that with several of those ECW guys, like in the late '90s of WCW. Shane Douglas went there. Terry Funk popped back up in WCW in the late '90s. Um, Chris Candido he showed up in
Yeah.
WCW. Bam Bam Bigelow showed up. Um, it was crazy. They were just like, but then it just didn't really work for them. I don't know what happened, but
Yeah,
also,
that's another thing. Shane Douglas and WWE. He he was a big star in ECW, but when he
mm,
went to WWE, he wasn't. You know.
well, according to what he says, that was that was because of the click and like Shawn Michaels and all those. He said that they didn't like him or something. They I don't know they didn't like each other. Or I don't know what it was, but like apparently that was why like they did what they did with with Shane Douglas in WWE, or Dean Douglas, I guess he was, because
Yeah.
when Sean had to like vacate the title that time, and they because he was supposed to have a match with Dean Douglas, but where he vacated, they gave it to Dean Douglas, and then like he immediately loses it to Razor, like right after
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say like what the truth is when it comes, because you hear a lot of these stories kind of back and forth. And I was just watching something the other day between about the whole Brett and Sean fights they had back in the late '90s, and that backstage fight. Have you ever heard the stories about that where like Sean
Yeah,
gets his
yeah, I
hair
heard
pulled
that
out by
stuff.
Brett and all that?
Yeah. And then Brett hit Vince, gave him a good one. Vince fell to the
Oh
ground
well,
and just walked out.
that was at the
Yeah,
Montreal
that was at the
Screwjob.
Montreal.
But they had a fight like months before that, and that's why they were keeping like Sean and Brett away from each other for so long on TV. And but honestly, looking back on it now, like if the story that Brett is telling is 100% correct, um, that was all Sean's fault, dude. Like
Hmm.
because apparently what he was saying was that because when you remember when Sean was like, it was on TV and he was talking with Brett and he said something about Brett having sunny days. And apparently that comment was off script and it caused a lot of problems with Brett and his wife at home.
Oh
So,
yeah, I remember that.
so yeah, even though I am a Shawn Michaels fan, I 100%, all that shit started because of Shawn, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the click back then they ran wild.
Oh yeah, man. Like they
From a
didn't
lot
care.
of wrestlers was saying they ran stuff like you know.
Yeah, Vince
So
Vince loved those dudes, man. He
yeah,
let them get away with anything.
yeah, yeah, basically anything.
So you've been a fan for a very long time now. Are you so do you still like follow like the current product and everything too,
Oh
right?
yeah, I still watch it. Yeah, I still watch it.
So how do you feel about not just like wrestling on TV like WWE and AEW and all that, but just the whole state of wrestling in general? How do you feel about it today as opposed to when you first got into it, years ago?
I like it the same. The only thing I don't like, well, couple things. I wish they would defend the belts more, like the
Mhm.
IC belts or the tag belts, because back then they was always defending those belts. Nowadays they they only defend them like once every 4, 5, 6 months, or once every when it's a big old pay-per-view. And then I don't like the curtain pulled back. I like the kayfabe, like that
Mhm.
Unreal that's on Netflix. I haven't watched none of it because you know I want to still, I wish it was still kayfabe, but I understand that it's kind of hard because the internet nowadays, and there's cameras everywhere. So, but um, I like where it's going, and from even when I was back then watching it. So,
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that same thing about WWE Unreal, that show, and just like not wanting to watch it just because of the kind of breaks the whole kayfabe thing. See, I was right there with you and all those other people. Before I said, well, you know what, I'm gonna just try this. I'm gonna try to watch it and see what they got going on here, and I don't hate it. I'll say that I don't hate it. So I'd recommend at least give it a chance, see what you think. If you still don't like it after you watch it, that's perfectly fine. But like I decided that I wasn't against it because it's if they were like doing that show like on a weekly basis or something, and they were covering all the current storylines in it, I think it would bother me then. But where all these stories that they're telling, kind of peeling the curtain back on, has happened like months ago. So
okay,
that's why it doesn't bother me as much, because like we're already past that. But like because I'm a person that is a fan of hearing behind the scenes stories, between, because I watch a lot of shoot interviews and stuff like that. So I like that kind of thing. It may not be for everyone though, but like for me, like to go and see like these matches that already happened in WWE, but we're getting to see kind of like how they came together, what the plan was, from Triple H and all those guys, beforehand. It's really cool to see, I think. But I, again though, I can see why people don't like it though. But I guess it's different. They say different strokes for different folks. So,
Right, right.
but I like I tell everybody that though. I say at least I say at least if you've not watched Unreal, just maybe watch the first episode and just kind of get a feel of what it is, and then just decide from there.
Yeah.
Um. So let me for the next question I want to ask you: is there anything from wrestling in the past that you loved about it that you don't see enough of anymore?
Like I said, them defending the tag belt or
Oh,
the
right,
IC
right,
belt.
right.
I I wish that they would defend them more, you know.
Just as
And
in
I wish
general,
that they
or
would
on
treat
TV.
um in general. Yeah, in general. And I wish that they treated the IC belt like they used to back in the day. Like it was the second belt, you know?
Hmm.
Like it's the belt that you earned, and then the next belt was the, world heavyweight champion belt, you know?
Right.
Like so like it was the worker belt.
So, d- and I was talking to someone about this not long ago. Um, do you feel like there are too many championships these wrestling promotions nowadays?
In a way, yeah, I do.
Do you? I think so because it goes back to what you were saying about like they used to look at that Intercontinental title as like that just the step below the world title, and they would use that title to kind of push these guys towards the top of the ladder to like in the next step if they drop the belt they could push them into that world title picture. I feel like with all the belts that they have now, like in WWE and these other promotions, it's kind of hard to determine that because I mean you got two world titles now in WWE. You have you have the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship, and then you have the Intercontinental in the United States. Um, but then like they throw in all these other like secondary titles that like the speed title
Oh
and stuff
yeah.
like stuff like that. Like, and then also just with NXT is kind of a different thing because they kind of have their own titles that kind of works their way up to where they can get to the main roster. But but yeah, I mean with so many titles, it makes them all feel not as important as they once was because like the Intercontinental title, like you have United States title as well. So, and the way they make it seem is as if both of those titles are on an equal level.
Yep.
But personally, I don't see it. I think Intercontinental title should be revered a lot more than the U.S. title.
Oh yeah. They definitely should. Yeah, like the IC title, yeah. That they should go back to, treating the IC title like, the importance that it was back in the day. Like it was the second belt. It was the worker belt. And then the next step is the world heavyweight champion belt, you know?
But I do like what they're doing right now though with Penta as the Intercontinental Champion because he's got like you were talking about that they don't defend it, but he's been defending that belt here quite a bit since he won it.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
think he's kind of doing that. They're both kind of doing it with that and the U.S. title. They were like the Open Challenge thing, which the thing I don't. Did you watch SmackDown this past Friday?
I watched highlights, but I didn't watch the full because I don't get USA. I don't get cable.
Right. Okay. So Sami Zayn won the U.S. title from Carmelo Hayes, which I'm not really that happy about because because the way they're doing it, it seems as if Sammy needs a match at WrestleMania, so they give him the U.S. title and he's going to fight Trick Williams now. Carmelo Hayes, I believe he deserves to be, on WrestleMania as well because he's had that belt for a few months, and I was really hoping to see him have a match at WrestleMania. So, but there's still time, I guess. They could maybe turn it into a triple threat or something, add him to the match. Um, because I really enjoyed seeing that open challenge. He was doing like the U.S. title open challenge every Friday on SmackDown, and
Oh
so
yeah, yeah, like
that
John
was
Cena would do.
yeah, really refreshing to see that, and thought it. He had some great matches with him and Dragunov. Did you ever watch any of their matches together?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Man, killer matches, dude. Um, and that was that. I wasn't a big fan of Carmelo when he first came in to the WWE, but when he became the U.S. champion, I was like, really? But then after I started getting into watching all his matches as U.S. champion, I was like, I'm a pretty big fan of that guy now. So yeah, it's disappointing if they leave him off of WrestleMania this year, which is just really a few weeks away now.
Yep. Excited.
Uh,
What you think about let me ask you a question. What do you think about WrestleMania this year?
man, it feels like very lackluster compared to years past, especially here in the past few years. Um, I don't think a lot of people. I see a lot of people talk about online saying that um, it's just lazy booking, all this stuff. I mean, I think it's part of that, but also I feel like it's not really anything they have any control of because they have so many injuries within the company right now, so many guys out. I mean, it's still kind of up in the air if Rollins is even going to be able to compete at WrestleMania and Braun Breaker, and then you got guys like Bronson Reed that are out right now, and just there's just so many people like missing from those big names that should be on the card, but they can't be due to injury. Bianca Belair, she's still out. So and just so what they're working with right now with the matches that have been announced, like I like Jade. And I like both Jade and Rhea, but like I feel like they don't have that good of chemistry with one another. Um, Now the stuff with Randy and Cody, I somewhat like that. It's just cause their history together, the whole legacy stuff they did years ago. Um, the Punk and Roman stuff is pretty fun. I like the Oba and Brock. I think that's going to be. Um, I think that's going to be a squash match. Honestly, I think Oba's going to squash Brock because I think we're getting towards the end of Brock's career here soon.
Same, same.
Um, but everything else, man, that's on the card that they've announced, I don't have a high opinion of it because it just feels like kind of thrown together.
What you think about the Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre match?
Oh yeah, so they're going to be doing it's an unsanctioned match now.
Yep.
I again, I like both of those guys. And I think that will probably end up being a really good match. It'll probably be a really crazy one depending on what all they do in the match. But it just I don't know, like it feels weird, man. Like because there was rumors online that for months, which I know you can't go by those rumors and everything, but like there was a lot of talk of the main event match, instead of just being Randy and Cody, it was supposed to be in a fatal four way with including Drew and Jacob, and it just I don't know, it just seems so weird, man. Even though I am a Cody fan, um, I just thought so close to Mania, Drew dropping the title, it just seemed something weird about it to me.
Yeah.
But I think that
I
I think that match between Drew and Jacob's going to be killer, though.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be a good match. And back to Rhea and Jade. I think it should have been Rhea and Liv, and then Jade face Stephanie Becker. I think that's the way it should have been, or somebody else. You know.
Yeah, that's those matchups are just I don't know. Do you feel? And I was talking to another buddy of mine the other day about the whole Liv and Stephanie matchup. Um, so does it not feel like that Liv is kind of portraying the baby face role in this feud going into Mania.
Oh
But
yeah, definitely after Monday night when Stephanie attacked Liv when she was coming out with Dominic to for the IC belt, IC for the IC match against Penta.
it's weird, man. Like I don't like because they have like these promos. They're pitting each other, pitting each other, against one another, and like everything that like Stephanie is saying to Liv comes off as like what the
A
heel
heel.
should be saying, you know.
Yeah.
And it's very strange, man. Like, and my buddy has a theory that there's going to be a double turn at Mania, and like so Stephanie's going to go, and like Dom's going to help Stephanie or something's what he thinks is
Mm.
going to happen, and like so in turn on Liv, so it's going to have like a double, so Liv will go back face and Stephanie will be a heel, but I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen honestly, like, um, but I feel like that the whole Judgment Day, the stuff between Liv and Dom, should have ended a while ago. I think it's kind of dragged on a little long now, but
Yeah, I think Judgment Day should have split up a while ago. Once
yeah,
Damian Priest and Rhea left, like, who do you really got? Like, JD, if Judgment Day split up or broke up, whatever, JD, he wouldn't be nothing. He would
right,
just
right.
be lost. He'd be lost.
That's what I'm
Same,
saying.
same, same with like I think Raquel. I think she would be lost too. Roxanne. I think she would do good. Liv would do good. Dominic would do good. But I think those two, uh,
Mhm.
Raquel and JD, would be lost. You know,
Yeah,
like speaking. Sorry, to cut you off. Speaking of, like, what do you think about Finn? Do you think he's gonna be lost again, or do you think they're gonna push him?
no, I think we're getting ready to see a good run here soon with Finn, something that he's needed for a while now because it just feels like he's been lost the past couple of years with the stuff in the Judgment Day, and just this kind of stuff where he was kind of started feuding with Punk and all that. I think this is we were starting to kind of see the old Finn again, the Finn that we saw in NXT and early on when he first came into the main roster. So I I think Finn Balor is an excellent wrestler. I'm a big fan of it, have been for years now, and I think he had some bad luck there years back when he was the first Universal Champion, and he's injured in that match where he won. Had to give up the title pretty much the next night. Um, but I really think he's someone that deserves to kind of have that, that main event spot. When if you're looking at the current roster right now, like he's definitely he needs his flowers for sure. Um, and that's another match that I am excited for. Do you think that we're going to get to see the Demon at Mania this year?
I hope. I really hope
It's
that
been
they
too
bring it
long,
back.
man. It's been too
I
long.
I really hope because Judgment Day is going to get involved. JD is going to get involved. So I think I think I think they should bring back the demon.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, Side Hustle Cinema here has got a question, and this would be a good question for you to answer, Don. So, he says, "How do you feel about the lack of good tag team rivalries?"
I would again with the IC. How they treat the IC. They treat the tag teams the same way. I'm a big tag team person.
Dude,
I love the tag teams. So I wish that they would treat them like they used to back in the day, WWF days. Treat them better.
for sure, man. And it's not like that they're lacking, in tag teams in the company right now, but because they got a ton. If you look at, they even got ones that they're not even showing on TV, like where the Street Profits been. They're a great tag team in my opinion.
Exactly. Where they at? They've been
Like
gone for a long time.
yeah, and then they're here recently starting to kind of showcase the Motor City Machine Guns a little bit more. I mean, not as much as they should have been, I don't think, but I mean, definitely they're at least starting to show them again. And it feels like they're kind of doing something there with them and Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. I don't know if they're going to end up being a stable, what they're going to do with that. But aside from that, like yeah, they don't use the tag teams as good as they should. Like I mean, the fucking Wyatt family, Wyatt Six, have been in a feud with the MFT for like half a year now. So
Oh
like
yeah,
we need to change that up a little bit, Um,
definitely, definitely. Yeah,
but it's
they definitely got to use the tag teams better.
for sure,
Definitely.
man. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know how they could do it, but like at this point, it seems like they would have to like start from ground zero again to just and build these teams because right now all those teams are just kind of lost in the mix, and they're not really establishing. They don't even really establish stories hardly anymore. Between the tag teams, they mainly focus on like just a few matches here and there. Um, like a lot of like the top guys like Cody and Randy Orton and Roman Punk. They're really putting their focus on those matches, I think, more than anything right now. But I really think that the tag team should deserve those stories just as much as the single stars do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those are another belts that they used to use all the time. Was they was always defending. A tag team was always defending tag belts. Just and they don't even do that no more. You know.
Yeah, they barely do. Unfortunately, I mean, like I know, like they're kind of doing stuff right now on Raw with the Usos because they're the Raw Tag Champs, and they're kind of I don't know they have a match tomorrow night with the Vision with Logan Paul and Austin Theory in a street fight for the tag
Yeah.
title. I thought that was going to be a match at Mania, so I have no idea what they're going to do at Mania with the Usos now. Um,
Yeah. Honestly, I think they're going to use the Usos or Jay Uso uh in the Roman and Punk match.
Oh yeah, definitely. From what they're doing, they're going to be involved somehow for sure.
I think it's going to be the bloodline. I think they're reforming the bloodline again.
That's what a lot of people seen things happening here, but I have a little bit different opinion on that. I think that they're teasing Jay turning heel on Roman at Mania.
Mm.
Just because of like everything, Jimmy's trying to like, calm him down and like he's like, you're out of control and all this shit. And then if you look at this past Monday on Raw, like, they were trying to, Roman was trying to get the Usos to leave. And like Jay like spins around and goes and attacks Punk. I think that's going to lead to something bigger between Roman and Jay at some point. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Um,
Right.
but got another big question here. This one
All
gets
right.
asked a lot on the internet. How big's Batista's dick?
I don't know, man.
Me either. Me either. The world may never know. But I see that all the
ask
time.
Melina. Ask Melina. She would know.
Yeah, yes, you very well may. Um, yeah, I've read the stories about that stuff too, man. Like poor John Morris, like
All right.
during
Right.
all that. I was reading that and like there was this book called Wrestle Crap where it just had all these different, stories and behind the scenes and stuff, and it was talking about the relationship between Melina and Batista. I was like, God, like I'm a fan of Batista. I like him, but that kind of makes you look at him in a really weird light. Like, God, what an asshole.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
definitely.
let's see a little bit. Well, the next question I have for you is, what is your most favorite thing and least favorite thing about being a wrestling fan?
Favorite thing? Um, it never gets old. It's always entertaining, and it's everywhere's like back in the day. Like I like going to indie shows. So we
Mhm.
have indie show like called Relentless Wrestling that put on shows at the casino or whatever. And like I said, they get big names, from like AEW and TNA and WWE that are like WWE retired wrestlers. So I like going to those shows and more than watching on TV. I like going to the shows a lot, and what I hate is how WWE raised the prices, ticket prices, since they went to TKO.
Amen. Amen to that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford to go to another WWE
Oh,
event at this point, man.
me neither. Me
It's
neither.
like that's like you're looking at like $200 nosebleeds.
Oh yeah.
So it's insane, especially like if you like not just don't want to go by yourself. If you have like friends you want to go with, or you have family that you want to take, like if you have kids, I mean that adds up, brother. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's
oh yeah.
crazy.
So
Just
yeah, that's what I would say that I hate about wrestling is how TKO raised the prices on tickets. Can't even go to a show, you know?
But, other than the upside to all that is that WWE is not the only promotion that exists, and then we have all these other options. That's what you were saying. It's wrestling's everywhere now. We have so many options. Like there's AEW, there's TNA, there's all these other different big promotions out there. On the indies, and then you have like your local stuff. I tell you, man, like you go to some of these local independent shows and you will have just as much as fun at those as you would a WWE show. And you're not spending nearly the amount of money at these shows either. And you
Oh
and
yeah.
some of those like indie shows they bring in like, um guys that have been on TV or legends, and so you can get to meet them as well. Like, if only way you're going to be meeting anybody at these WWE shows is if you pay that additional like premium meet and greet, backstage thing before the show, which is going to be another 500-600 bucks or whatever, So, but you could go to an indie show and meet like a legend, that they've booked coming on that show, like price of admission maybe like 15-20 bucks, and then you pay whatever to to meet that legend or wrestler that they brought in for that show. So I one of my biggest things is support indie wrestling 100%, because a lot of these guys that you're watching on WWE or AEW promotions like that, they're on TV. A lot of those guys were in independent wrestling at one point, and you could be going to one of these shows and become a fan of someone that's not a big name right now, but they may be one day. And that's what I think is the coolest thing about being a wrestling fan, is that you
Yeah.
can go to those and then like, hey, like I met so and so, before they made it to the big time. And they'd be like, no way, So, I mean, look at Danhausen today, man. Like that guy was on the indie scene for years. I would have never guessed that he would be in the WWE now. That's crazy.
Yeah, me neither. I thought he would stay with AEW or ROH, AEW ROH, I never
Yeah,
thought he would, you know, ever go to WWE. But
it's
I
insane.
mean,
I was like, "What?" I mean, good for him though, like because the guy's gotten over so well just with his YouTube stuff and then like his merch sales. Like when he was in AEW, he was like one of the biggest like merch sellers there was, and then Pro Wrestling Tees, he was like one of their top sellers for merchandise, and he comes to WWE, and like he was only there for like maybe a couple days, and his shirt that debuted the night that he debuted was like the number one seller on WWE Shop. I'm like, dude, that's insane. Like, and he
and he
and he's
got
not even
5 shirts.
yeah, and he's not even had a match or anything yet. I mean, the dude like, and people love him, and that's what I was so worried about because, like, I was afraid that when he came to WWE that nobody would care and or nobody would know who he was, but I mean, he's not even been there probably a month now, and he's like one of the most over guys in the company right now. And he just makes these backstage appearances, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that I like about wrestling is, we could wrestling fans we could connect like how we're
Yeah,
connecting.
exactly,
We
dude.
could It's a lot easier to connect with wrestling fans now because of the internet instead of like going to a show and connecting with them. We could connect with people that's from Canada, people from Scotland, or people from like you know where you're from, Kentucky or Texas, or where I'm from, Washington State. or
That
Cali.
is.
You know, we could connect everywhere. It's around the world. That's another thing I like about, wrestling and wrestling fans, and we're able
Yeah,
to,
exactly,
connect.
man. You hit the nail on the head with that for sure, and that's why like I started this show because I that's what I wanted because I love talking with everybody. I don't care. I don't know a stranger, as they say. When it comes to talking about wrestling, and me and you, like we didn't even know each other maybe a month ago, and here we are
Right.
on my YouTube channel talking about wrestling. I think that's awesome,
Exactly.
man.
I mean,
Um,
I mean, I watch you on when you do the WrestleManiacs with
oh,
Garrett,
okay.
and Wes from Dead Pit, and
Mhm.
and then Mark. I watch those every time you guys do those.
Well,
So
thanks, man.
I knew about you,
Oh,
so that's
okay.
how I
Oh,
knew about you.
oh, okay, man. Yeah, thank you for watching that stuff too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I got to get up with Wes and see what we're doing. But like, it's been a while since we did a WrestleManiacs. I think the last one we did was Royal Rumble, which I know we're going to be covering Mania both nights again this year on WrestleManiacs. But he was saying that we were going to do something before then. But I mean, if we do, we're going to have to do that very soon because Mania is almost
Right.
here.
A
But
month
if
away.
yeah, if we don't, yeah, you'll see the WrestleManiacs back on WrestleMania weekend. We'll like after each night, like after the show's over, we'll be going live and talking about the both nights. So that one should be fun. And as far as I know, it's all four of us. It's gonna be me and CK and Garrett and Mark. So yeah, I look forward to that. But thank you, man, for watching those as well. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
So Side Hustle Cinema's got another question. He says, "Do you have a favorite Dark Side of the Ring episode?"
Um, I like I like the one that they did, Mick Foley.
Mhm.
It did. What else? Um, there's so many I forget. The I forgot her name. The one that Daphne.
Oh
That
yeah,
that one was a good one. It's sad,
oh
but
yeah, yeah.
it was a
That was
good one.
rough.
Yeah.
If I had to choose, I really like the one with New Jack.
Oh yeah,
Um,
New Jack. Yeah.
I really like the Eddie Guerrero one. I like the Owen Hart one. Um, I like the Road Warriors one. Yeah, there's a lot of them. But
Oh
I
yeah.
still,
That's why
I
I had to
still,
think.
yeah, I still haven't seen all the. So like one that a lot of people has been telling me to watch, but I still haven't watched it yet. Is the Buff Bagwell one?
Oh
Um,
okay.
because they say it's like really bizarre. I'm like, hmm. So I'm interested. I just got to get around to watching that one. And speaking of Buff Bagwell, did you see where he just showed up on TNA the other night?
No, I didn't see that.
So he was on TNA this past Thursday night, and he just had his leg removed. His leg amputated, so he has that prosthetic leg now. But he announced on TNA he's going to have one last match. So
Oh, okay.
interesting to say. I mean, and he looks great too. Like I don't know if you've seen one. Like he looks the way he looks now and is the best he's looked in years, man. Because I know Buff went through a lot of issues and stuff in his personal life and all that, but um, and I don't mention this too much on here, but like DDP man has really saved a lot of guys' lives,
Mhm.
especially in the wrestling industry. And just you look at what he did. I mean, I know Scott Hall's passed away now and all that, but like there towards the end of his life, DDP was doing his best to help him. He's helped guys like Jake the Snake. He helped, Jericho come back. Jericho thought his
Mhm.
career was over because of his back injuries and stuff. DDP helped him out with that. I mean, just it's crazy. Like all the people that he's helped, and now Buff being one of those guys, and then Lex Luger as well. He helped Lex Luger. Um, basically walk better than what he has in years. So it's amazing. So I think DDP was on Undertaker's podcast, and Undertaker said, as something to the effect of like as great of a wrestler he was and everything, he's doing probably the most important thing he's ever done in his life right now with helping these guys, and it's amazing to me, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah. DDP, man, he's definitely helping out a lot of people. He just ain't even helping wrestlers. He's helping like celebrities and
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
a lot of people he's helping out. So it's just not wrestlers. It's anybody. It's everybody.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, if there's one of these guys, when it comes to people in wrestling that I have so much respect for, DDP is at, he's at the top of that list for sure. Just of what he's doing for these wrestlers, these celebrities, and just people in general. It's phenomenal, dude.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but I have another question here. So this is my buddy Dave Mania, who was on the show here recently, says, "Do you have a holy grail to get for your wrestling collection?"
I would like to own um wrestling gear that's was worn wrestling gear. I would like to own some like that
Is there any ones
from
like in particular?
anybody.
You know what I would love to have when it comes to wrestling gear, like ring worn wrestling gear, would be any of the tights that Ravishing Rick Rude wore, because
Oh
those were
yeah.
some of the coolest like tights. They were like, I remember he was a savage dude. Like he would have like
Oh yeah.
Jake the Snake Roberts' wife like on his crotch, or like he had the ones in WCW that had Flair on one leg and Fifi the maid on the other, and just I remember he had one. When he was the U.S. champion in WCW, he had these tights that had a picture of everyone's face that he had beaten thus
Oh
far.
yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Dude, like he has some sick tights. Dude. RVD had some cool ones too, man. Like
Oh yeah.
I would love to have some RVD stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I would like any wrestlers ring worn,
mm,
to be just to, just to actually I probably would like a ring worn Rey Mysterio mask. I think that would be cool.
so if I'm thinking of a holy grail item for my wrestling collection, that would be tough, man. Like, one that really sticks out in my mind is the ECW championship that was given to Terry Funk. So where they named him as the forever ECW champion. So they after he retired, Paul Heyman presented him with this belt. It's just the ECW championship, but they put like a plate on it or something that says Terry Funk. So if I was picking anything, that would probably be like one of my top picks for like a holy grail item. But that's something I know that I'll never own. So like I'm sure they'll
Right.
probably stay in the Funk family for forever or whatever. But yeah, that's a good question, Dave. I appreciate that, man. Um, so let me see. So the next question I want to ask you, Don, is, and this is something I ask everyone. When it comes to your favorites of all time, not necessarily who you think is the greatest of all time, but just your four personal favorites of all time. Who's on that Mount Rushmore for you?
Ooh, man, put me on the spot. Can we change it up? Can we do tag teams?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that tag
All
teams.
right, all right. So first, gotta be demolition.
Hmm.
Gotta be demolition. And then second, it has to be Harlem Heat.
Okay.
Yeah, Harlem Heat. And then third, the Steiners. The Steiners. And then fourth. Man, this one's hard. Fourth, um, the Dudley Boys.
Dang. Yeah, man. I think I would probably put the Dudleys on mine too. But that's some
You got to, man.
that's a list I because I've never done a tag team Mount Rushmore for myself. I mean, I've done like singles guys, um, but I like to know, man. Like if I hate to put you on the spot, but like
All
if
right.
there's four singles guys, like, and I change mine up all the time. But so like, just who are your four personal favorites that you think that you would put on there like right now?
Oh man, gotta be Bret Hart. Has to be Bret Hart. Stone Cold. Um, Macho Man. Actually, no.
It's tough, right?
Eddie. Gotta put Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Gotta put Eddie. And then the fourth one, I would like to say Macho Man, but man, it's so many good people.
I know, man, it's tough.
Man.
Like I right now, like I've been telling everybody that mine is Sting, Bret Hart, Dusty Rhodes, and Roddy Piper. But like I'm sure at some point that will change. Because I was telling someone like for years, Ultimo Dragon was on like
Mm,
my Mount Rushmore, but like over I think it just it all is a matter of like what you're watching currently as far as like
yeah.
and just if you're going back and you say if you're watching a lot of stuff of a certain wrestler, you're like, oh man, so you start to like them even more, you start to gain more respect for things you may have not known, before. So I was like, oh, I definitely got to put them on my Mount Rushmore. But then later, and later down the road, that could change again. You watch something else on someone different, and you're like, oh man, well, I got to put them on the Mount Rushmore. So like that's the way
Yeah.
I am, man. Mine's always changing, but Sting's gonna be on there for me no matter what, every single
Oh
time.
yeah. So the fourth one, I would like to put Punk on there, but I'm uh I'm gonna put Mick Foley.
Hell yeah, man, that's a good
I'm gonna
choice
put
too.
Mick Foley.
And Mick deserves, in more
So
ways than one.
yeah, so Mick Foley, Bret Hart,
Stone Cold,
Stone Cold, and
that's a good one, man.
Eddie Guerrero. Yeah.
That's great. Like Eddie's one of those guys, I would definitely he's in my top 10 of all time. Um, it's hard, like to place all those guys within just 10 spots. Even I mean, it's even harder to do 4 spots, but like
Oh
there's
yeah.
just so many people that I've just been a fan of and stuff for years. It's hard to really rank them like that. Maybe I might do a video like that one of these days. Like I'll just rank all my favorite wrestlers or something. Um, but yeah, so you mentioned Punk though. I gotta ask. So would you say that's your favorite? That's your favorite right now in the current state of WWE, or do you like someone more than him right now? Or
No, it's Punk. Yeah, I like Punk. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I like Penta. I like, Seth Rollins, but yeah, Punk's my favorite right now.
it's hard to say. Like who my favorite would be right now in WWE. Like I want to probably say Dominic Mysterio.
Oh yeah.
I love what they're doing with him, not just in the WWE, but what they're doing with him over in AAA as well. Um, and I think he's just like he's what a heel should be, you know. He's like because the heels that I grew up, a lot of them were like, had that same kind of attitude, that a lot of them would be like that chicken shit heel. They'd run away from everything, and that was what a classic wrestling heel was when I was growing up, and I think that's one of the things I don't think you see enough of anymore in wrestling in general. So to see Dom kind of embody that, and also he has kind of all these different kind of homages to do like Eddie and these other
Hmm.
lucha libre wrestlers. It's super cool because that's something I grew up loving was lucha libre, which I wouldn't known about lucha libre probably if it wasn't for WCW and
Yep,
all the
same.
and that's what made me kind of fall in love with Mexican wrestling was all that stuff. Guys like La Parca and Psychosis, and the Villanos and all Silver King. I loved all those guys, man. And it makes me want to go back and watch some WCW now. Talking about it. Um, so Side Hustle Cinema's got another question. It's just if you could send a current wrestler back in time to 1990, who would it be? And then he says there will be Randy Orton. So who would you send back in time back to 1990 that you think would work during that time?
That's the right now. Um, let's put Dominic, because he's a good heel
Yeah,
and he do
yeah,
that
that's
chicken shit.
I was that'd be my choice too. Like I think he would work perfect during that time. Like I said, that's what I was just saying. He.
And I think his manager should be Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Man, that would be interesting. Um, Honestly, man, I don't think Dom even really needs a manager. I think he works great by himself, but like that would
Oh
be
yeah.
interesting to see him put with Bobby because Bobby Heenan, he was a genius. To me, Bobby
Hmm.
Heenan was a genius when it came to wrestling, and I feel like he really elevated all of those guys even more.
Oh yeah,
That he
definitely
worked
did.
with. Because can you imagine like if Andre having the same? Would you think Andre would have had the same career without Bobby Heenan or some of those other guys like Big John Studd? Um, you know, Maybe even like Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. I think some of them. I think Rick Rude might have still worked because there was times where he went without a manager. But you know what I'm saying? Like some
Hmm.
of those guys, I feel like they were elevated even more because of their association with Heenan.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. That's another thing. Talking about managers, that's another thing that WWE ain't doing no more. Ain't
Exactly.
no wrestlers, no wrestling companies, AEW or TNA or WWE. That's another thing I miss is the managers.
You see a lot of it on the independent still, I think,
Hmm.
because but a lot of the people on the independents they still kind of have that old school mentality, like a lot of us, older fans do as well, and I appreciate that because I think modern wrestling does need more managers. I mean, there's some here and there, like Heyman's still doing his thing with the Vision, but I think Kiana James is like with Julia, which she's not even really a manager now. Like she wrestles too. So
Hmm.
like what you consider like like wrestling managers, yeah, it's few and far between, man.
I think
Um,
Paul Heyman's the only one.
I mean, yeah, as far as like when you think of guys like that, yeah, he's one of the very last ones that's even kind of around right now. I mean, um, you might see like Jimmy Hart, coming out with a local guy at an independent show or something, but you know what I mean? Like, and that's if you look at like the old school managers, the ones that are even still around, like Jimmy Hart is still with us, Paul Heyman, Jim Cornette still with us,
Oh, yeah.
but a lot of those great wrestling managers have now passed away. Paul Bearer's gone and Bobby Heenan's gone, Mr. Fuji. Uh, and then you look at valets like Sherry and Miss Elizabeth, and man, I was looking at this thing last night. I would love to go to because they have it up in Frankfort, Kentucky, because that's where Miss Elizabeth is from, and they have like a museum up there for Miss Elizabeth that has like all of her like attire that she wore, like for different matches and just different things, different kinds of memorabilia. And I think it's free to go to. So I'm gonna try to make it up there at some point. If I do, hopefully I can maybe do a video for the channel on it or something.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, that'd be dope.
But but yeah, like even Dave, he put another comment in here saying that put Sherry with Dom.
Oh yeah,
I think that would
that
work.
Yeah, that would work good too.
Because if you think like when they put Sherry with Shawn Michaels back in the day, that really helped him a lot, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then, she was and Sherry was something else, dude. Like there for in the early 90s, she was working with ECW and doing some really cool stuff between her and Medusa over in ECW. This is like it's like 93, 94. And then, she ended up coming to WCW and she was working with Harlem Heat, and that was I love that whole era of Harlem
Oh
Heat
yeah, me
when
too.
it was them and Sherry and Colonel Robert Parker. And they were like Colonel Robert Parker and Sherry were supposed to be married or whatever, and it's just man, that was such a fun time. Like it's like it in a way it makes me sad because while I love wrestling today, like, it's just not as special as it was back then. I don't know if it was just where I was a kid and I looked at it differently then or what it is. So how do you feel about that, man?
Ah, man, back then was magical. Wrestling back then was magical. Like you had a point where it wasn't cool to like wrestling, and you had to keep it like low, like you had to keep it hidden, you know. But until like the Attitude Era, and then everybody liked wrestling, and you're like, wait a
Yes.
minute, where's where's all these wrestling fans at coming from? You know, back in the day, you guys was like, oh, you like wrestling? Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Like, you know, now that the Attitude Era, you got NWO, DX, you know, what Stone Cold, you know, everybody, you know, in the Attitude Era. Now everybody likes wrestling, so it was cool.
It's
But back
yeah.
then, it was magical, man. It was magical.
And that's the thing too, like I see a lot of which I think it's just a bunch of bullshit people talking about online and stuff, but saying the Attitude Era wasn't as great as you thought it was, and it was overrated or what. I'm like, really? Are you sure about that? Because like it changed the world for wrestling. It's
Oh yeah, it did.
I
And
mean I
whoever,
think
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
man. Oh, whoever says that the Attitude Era is, you know, nothing, you guys are wrong. Sorry to say,
Yeah,
you guys are
yeah.
wrong.
I and
Attitude
I hate
Era
I
was
hate
big.
being that way. Like I hate telling someone they're wrong, because of their opinion. But I mean, really, come on. Like you, I can't 100% believe anyone that says they've watched, and experienced the Attitude Era and then say, "Oh, well, it wasn't that great." Well,
All
okay.
right.
All right. Well, whatever you think, but but it's to me it changed wrestling forever because
Oh yeah.
like you said, people were getting into it that weren't normally wrestling fans that that would look at it like before wrestling like, ooh, you're a wrestling fan? That's weird, but now they love it. And I think because, from that generation, adults of that generation, they would have kids that, they got into it. And there's so many people that love wrestling, these days. I think and thanks to the Attitude Era, mostly in that whole Monday Night War era, not just WWF stuff, but the WCW, just everything
Hmm.
that was going on at that time. It really shaped wrestling fans for that time. Just not ones that already existed and ones that were just coming into it at that time. And it's just kind of went from generation to generation. So you could see like little kids nowadays at WWE events, and their parents may have been fans back in the Attitude Era, and that's why their kids are fans now. So, and that's what I love about it, and just anybody that says that the Attitude Era, even though I get that, like I said, it is your opinion, but I think it's wrong.
Yep. Same. You're wrong. You guys are wrong.
But Don, man, I want to say thank you again, and I appreciate you taking time to do the show. This has been a blast, man. I've had such a great time talking to you about all the wrestling stuff tonight. Is there anything else that you want to add or say? Do you have anything coming up you want to talk about?
Um, actually, I kind of I so going back to like Hogan. So, do you think if Vince McMahon didn't hire Hogan back and push Hogan like he did, who do you think would have been in Hogan's spot?
Hmm. Like what era are we talking about here?
Like um that like the 80 late 80s early 90s, when
Oh,
he had
okay.
that big old
Okay.
push, red and yellow Hogan.
So who do I think it would if Hogan wasn't in the spot that he was in? Who do I think it would have been?
Yeah, who you think Vince would have had if
Macho Man, 100%.
Marchman?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I
Yeah.
mean, he was just. I mean, I know Hogan like really changed everything for that time, and Macho Man came in a little bit later after Hogan in WWF. But man, Macho Man, his stardom was just on another level. Especially
Mhm.
after WrestleMania 3, the match with Steamboat, and then in the next, a year from there, he was the WWF champion. He was the first holder of the Winged Eagle belt,
Mhm.
and then just everything they had going on with like the merchandise, just like Macho Man's look. Then later the Slim Jim stuff, and just you know, I think Macho Man is like one of those guys, especially nowadays. I mean, after it's been years and years and years, um, but he's one of those guys that people know
Mhm.
that, and not they don't have to be a wrestling fan. They don't have. I mean, it's like John Cena. Like you don't have to be a wrestling fan, but you know who John Cena is.
Right.
You know who Hulk Hogan is. You know who Stone Cold is.
Mhm.
But Macho Man is another one of those guys, and I think if Hogan weren't around back then, if they weren't pushing the way they were, I think that Macho Man would have been that guy for him for sure. Because he was at least there for a whole year from
Mhm.
WrestleMania 4 to 5. So and look who they had him working with, Hogan. So
Right.
that was their two top guys, and um, it's crazy too to think about because if you think of how they were using Macho Man in the early '90s in WWF, like, where they were kind of shifting him to a commentator role, and he was barely in any matches on TV and stuff. And I think a lot of people during that time thought, "Wow, this is Macho Man's career really over?" But then he goes to WCW and just basically kind of reinvents himself once again.
And
So
blows up. And
is
he
yeah,
blows up again. Yeah, I agree with you too. I think Macho Man, and then I was thinking probably Ultimate Warrior. If Ultimate Warrior didn't, you know, come in
Warrior
and
would be
out,
another choice,
I think if he just stayed, I think he would be one too.
yeah. So like, I think those are really the only two during that time that I would choose to put in Hogan's spot would be Macho Man and Warrior. Um, well, I mean, I would if they done things right. Roddy Piper could have also filled that role, but even though Roddy Piper is one of my favorite, he was just like a not as over the top. Like, and I think that's why like Hogan and Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior kind of stood out more so to a lot of people. Is because they were, they're over the top. They were these colorful characters, you know. But there was so many of that, man. It's really hard
Hmm.
to say like what they would have done, but like,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean, but definitely I think Macho Man would be and Warrior would both be good choices for that spot. Um, But everyone be sure to follow Don on his Instagram over at Hardcore Wrestling Collector. Like I said earlier in the video, he has got some great stuff on there. Absolutely some really cool. Like you got a really cool Bret Hart jacket in one of those photos.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Got you right here, man.
Hell yeah, dude. That's so. Is that a chalk line?
Yup, it's Chalkline. I got so many Chalkline jackets. Yeah, it's Chalkline.
Hell yeah,
Yeah, I
dude.
got I got a lot. I got a lot. But yeah, like I said, Bret Hart's my favorite. I'm a Bret Hart guy. So
Yeah,
yep.
he's like my second favorite wrestler of all time, dude, next to Sting. It's funny too, because like Sting, Bret Hart, my two favorites, they had the same finishing move. So,
Oh right, right.
and that's just coincidence though. But yeah, Bret Hart, yeah, definitely with every good reason, should be up there and people's like, top. I know there's some people that don't like him now because of just stuff he said on the internet, and like they say, "Oh, he's an old man, he just complains all the time." I'm like, "Well, I mean, that doesn't change like anything about
Right,
his
right.
wrestling ability, his wrestling matches that he had, and it doesn't change the fact that he's a legend." So,
Exactly.
but again, man, it's been a pleasure, and I've had a lot of fun with this, and I'd like to have you back at some point as well. We can do something.
Okay,
Maybe
cool.
we can go other than how I got into wrestling. We could just do something where we just talk wrestling, man. It doesn't have to be any one topic or anything. But I would love to
Okay,
have you back. But I want to thank everyone for watching the show. I've got some other stuff coming up here real soon. Don't have anything planned for this coming week unless something changes, but just watch the YouTube channel, watch the Instagram page, just if for any kind of changes coming up. So just stay tuned to the channel, and if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that effing bell, brother, right here on the CraterMania channel. And we'll see you next time on How I Got Into Wrestling.